Hello, everybody. Good evening in South Africa. This is Sam Tsima from Cometa GOC International. And for those who are just waking up from any part of the world, good morning, and we wish you a very good day. I want us to talk about the topic that is very much close to my heart, and that is coaching. I am the executive coach, and of course, I'm the CEO of Cometa GOC International Pty Limited. Coaching is one of our many offerings under our human capital development portfolio of services. We every now and then like to share with you our insights, the knowledge, the experiences that we are making on this very important topic. Today I want us to talk a little bit about putting together a structured coaching session plan. Now you may be wondering why one would want to structure a coaching session, because a coaching session is belonging to both the coach and the coachee, and therefore a coach alone cannot really structure it. I think it's very important to note that the coach still has the responsibility to make sure that the session delivers on the objectives of the client. The session is not just happening out of context. The coaching session is a building block of the whole coaching program. And if it is not guided and structured, it's possible that it may not contribute to the whole objectives and the purpose of the coaching program. Having a template or a guideline does not necessarily mean that you are dictating to what is going to be discussed in the session. You are creating a framework within which coaching is going to take place. So this template that I have developed, it becomes very effective the moment you are about to start a session, because you have to prepare at least 15 minutes or 30 minutes better before the client arrives. Just having this session this session template, looking at the cover page with the name of the client you are going to coach and the coaching session number, you are already gearing yourself to a very fruitful session. There is a data that needs to be captured for each of the session and be archived for future reference by the client and the coach. The data that you need to capture is the coaching session number as indicated, the name of the coach, the name of the client, the position that the client is holding in their company, and the name of the company that they are coming from. And of course, if they are not working for any company, then you don't have to enter that information. But if they are self-employed, in many cases they will be having their own company that they have registered and they are operating under. It's also very important to capture the date of the session, the time, and the venue. So the venue is very important in the sense that it is one of the key influencers of the productivity or the outcome of the coaching session. And of course, the time is crucial because you want to determine how long the session takes and when did the session start and when did it end. That information is not just for the record's sake. It is also used when you are then billing for the service that the client has to pay. Each of the session must have its own coaching topic or coaching objective. That is guided by the broader objective of the coaching program. The template also guide the actual session itself. And I always spend 15 minutes of the session conducting what we call checking in. And this is the most favored part of the session. When the client arrives there, they just want to tell you what is going well with them or what is not going well with them. So now that they know that there is a section at the beginning of the session that is dedicated to that, they don't become too anxious and rush to tell you. They allow you to set the scene nicely and organize drinks or share drinks with them, and then kick off the session by saying, let's just check in. By the way, it's not only the client that's checking in. The coach also checks in, because coach and the client are partners in a coaching program. So if the client doesn't feel well, the coach needs to take note of that and try to empathize with the client and make sure that you don't exacerbate the situation. The same goes for the coach. If the coach is not feeling well or is tired or he has had some difficulties before the session, the checking in might be the opportunity just to share with the client the challenges you are going through, so that the client can adjust their expectations of your delivery on that day, and in many cases make it easy for you as well. So it's a partnership, and the checking in is a very, very important first step before the actual session takes place or the actual conversations takes place. And it should not be rushed, and it should never be jumped, because otherwise you'll find yourself missing each other in the session because of not knowing what's going on in each one of you's life, meaning you, the coach, and the client. But it's also helpful to have a check-in, because it's during the check-in that the client can actually reflect on what has happened between the previous session and the current session. You may also ask some few questions as to how did she or he experience the implementation of those actions that might have come out of the previous session. And the client may also volunteer certain insights around his or her life that actually are pertinent to the coaching program. Once the checking in is done, you can then start putting together the mini agenda for the session itself. It's very important also to have a mini agenda, because you only have so much time dedicated to the session. And if there are too many the topics that the client is bringing up, or many agenda items that the client is bringing up, you have to contract with the client in terms of what is most important for him or her, and what can we leave out for later sessions, and what must come first. And then the client is also made to think through the issues that are affecting him or her, and prioritize those that he or she believes needs to be tackled with the coach. Not that we will come up with solutions in the session, but we may just enlighten the client to be able to work out solutions even beyond the session. Once the topic or the agenda has been finalized, and then the coach then sort of like takes over the process of facilitating the dialogue. And that's where now the coaching model of that client shows up, and also the tools that the client, the coach, has access to are being applied. There are certain expectations from any coach, and one of those is that the coach must be present at all times, and the coach must be able to pitch himself or herself at the level where the client is. And we always call it dancing with the client. You have to go with the flow and follow the client and really be empathetic with the client, and make sure that it's the client that is doing more talking than you, and you just are asking the penetrating questions, holding the mirror for the client to look into the mirror and really reflect on the issues that they are raising. The coach is not there to give answers, colleagues. The coach is there to enable and facilitate the discussion and help the client think through issues, and if possible, think out possible solutions. And there are many methodologies during the sessions that can be used. One of those, as I said, is asking the right questions, challenging the client where the client tries to move away or run away from the issues, bringing some little options for the client, some few options for the client to choose from, and then really using examples, analogies, visualization, and even sometimes, if possible, playing podcasts or TED Talks, just to demonstrate to the client that there are many ways that the challenges that the client is faced with can be addressed. And that is really the main body of the template. As the session is going through, the template guides the client to pay attention to the emerging trends out of the client. You get to know the client to a point that you are able to see when abnormal things are evolving, are emerging, and you are able to note it down. You did not respond to it immediately, but you could note it down and later on share your observation with the client during the sessions, or raise them out in a report to say that I have observed the following trends that are emerging from you. Are you aware of this? Is it purposeful, or is it something that is a blind spot? Can we talk about it? You also have to be able to determine the current state of being of the client and be able to ask the client to reflect on that. And that the template is designed to remind you of it. It's also very important that as the client commits themselves to actions, you note it down. It's not always the case that there will be a certain minutes dedicated to raising the action steps. The client often commit to action steps during the process, and one needs to note down of those. And at the end of the session, just re-emphasize to the client that you have committed that you will do 1, 2, 3. If you don't do that, it's very difficult then to track the progress, because what makes coaching achieve results is the actions that the client does in between the sessions. And if you have noted them down and you reflect them on them in a coaching report, it is easy for a client to be motivated to do something about their development. The coach can also walk away from the sessions with some follow-up actions that they need to do. However, one has to be very careful that the coach doesn't end up doing the work for the client, because the purpose of coaching is not for the coach to resolve the problems of the client and to do the actions on behalf of the client. But actions could be a reminder being sent to the client to read the report, a reminder being sent to the client to go and look at that book at the bookshop that was identified during the session, or listen to a podcast, or observe the behavior of the colleagues in a management meeting, if that was an issue of discussion, and literally reminding the client to do things in between the sessions so that there is a shift in the client's growth. At the end of every session, there's another 15 minutes that is dedicated to what we call checking out. Now, the simple way of describing the checking out is a reflection on the session. And there are 5 questions of reflection we use during the checking in that we have captured in the template. And the first one is confirmation. You ask the client what the session confirmed for them. Secondly, you ask them if during the session there was any aha moment. The point during the session at which a penny drops. The point at which certain things became clearer than before. The next point of checking out is the new insights that the client might have actually picked up from the session. Insights is nothing else but the lessons and the awareness that we created. And of course, then the third one or the fourth one is, what are they taking home from the session? What are they taking from this session to be processed further in between the sessions after this one. And then, of course, lastly, if there are any commitments to a new behavior that they want to start displaying or new practices that they want to start introducing, so that you can hold them accountable during the next session and remind them of those changes that they committed to practice or to introduce. So that is it. That's a template. It's very much helpful for us as coaches, and I hope that I've shared with you something that you will look at and maybe improve on your own approaches, and that way growing each other as fellow coaches and benefiting our clients. I thank you. You enjoy your evening, and we will meet again during the next episode. Goodbye.